Hey, everybody. This is Headspace for the Workplace, and it's a podcast on how to cultivate vibrant and psychologically safe and healthy workplaces. I'm your host, Sally Spencer Thomas, and today we're going to talk about the need to develop comprehensive and sustainable workplace mental health and suicide prevention strategies based on lived expertise. My guest today is Christopher Wojnar, and he is calling in. Hi, Christopher. How are you today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's awesome to be reconnected. He is a board member of United Suicide Survivors International and one of our committee members for workplace suicide prevention and postvention. So we have a lot of common passions. Christopher, what are the two takeaways you want to make sure our audience has today?
The first one being gauge the current pulse, and the second one being leverage the power of lived experience.
Okay, well, you're speaking my language. I love it. So let's go and talk about you for a second. What is it that you do every day?
Sure. I'm a professional nurse in the intensive care unit at one of the largest hospitals in the state of Wisconsin. So I provide nursing care to critically ill patients and have been serving the community for some time. So that's in addition to that, I'm also involved with some suicide prevention efforts in the workplace and a few other things. So.
Excellent. And what's something that people find curious about you when they learned it about you?
One thing that most people don't know about me, but makes me unique and kind of quirky, is that I was a karaoke DJ for a short time prior to becoming a nurse. And no, I'm not going to sing something for
Oh,
you
yes,
here,
you
so
are.
don't
Oh, yes,
ask,
you are.
okay?
Oh, darn it. Like weddings, bar mitzvahs, and like parties and stuff. Is that what you did?
Yeah, no, it was so the Milwaukee Brewers is a baseball team, and there was a few bars, if you will, that had karaoke after Brewers games. So
Oh, so
it was
fun.
it was good. Yeah.
So, you always got a plan B if you need it. There you go.
Yes.
And a lot of recreational laughs, which is important when you do the work that you do. But
Absolutely.
in all seriousness, how did you find yourself in this place where you have this kind of dual passion of providing intense care in the healthcare system and then also suicide prevention in the workplace?
It started out when I was in my adolescence and just survived multiple suicide attempts between the ages of 14 and 18. And that was, a very tough time in my life. And, after my fourth hospitalization, I just kind of came to this realization, this revelation that, hey, Chris, maybe you're supposed to be here. So, I really embraced that newfound perspective, and I just was on kind of a mission to figure out, what to make out of this new lease on life, if you will, and to remove, the option of suicide as an option in general. So, this mindset kind of led me to pursuing an education in firefighting. So I tried getting a job on a fire department, following the footsteps of my dad, and after 5 years, that didn't really work out. I was feeling kind of lost. I was working in sales, and I told my now wife, we were dating for just a few months. I told her, hey, I'm going to quit my job and pursue nursing for the first time in my life, and I never looked back. So it was really just trying to find and discover meaning and purpose in life, and help back and help others and give back. Shortly after starting at the organization I'm at right now, I reconnected with a childhood friend of mine who was a nursing colleague who died by suicide in August of 2018. We lost another nurse a week before him, and come to find out, between August of 18 and January 2019, we lost a number of healthcare workers to suicide. And this kind of fueled a call to action in me. And, I got involved and created a workplace well-being council at our hospital, and also learned and got involved with zero suicide integration work in our hospital system, and specifically for the workforce. I said, hey, Sally, I said, we have all this work that's being done to impact patients in the community, but I said that we have, the problem within our own workforce. So yeah, the journey has been amazing. And it's been an honor. And now I'm a future psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner,
Whoop,
and
whoop.
looking forward to getting into the specialty as a provider.
Wow, what an incredible story. And I, for one, am so glad that you've stayed and so glad that you found a way to turn your pain into purpose, which is, of course, the motto of United Survivors, that this is a place where people can explore what did this mean for me and how do I serve the world with this wisdom that I have because I lived through it. So thanks for being here. Well, let's dive into those two tips. What did you mean when you talked about gauge the current pulse, and what are you trying to tell our workplace leaders from this message?
Well, I think, in the ask and the call, obviously, that we're talking about today is, a commitment to workplace suicide prevention and mental health. And, I think the first thing that you have to do, which is very foundational, is you have to gauge where you are. And by doing so, you are reaching out and actually empowering the workforce to provide that information for you. Without a current pulse on where you're at, you don't know where you can go. Just like with Google Maps, you can't get an endpoint without putting in a start point. So I think that's what gauge the current pulse means.
Yes, and you know what? Time and time again, this is the part that a lot of our partners skip. They're like, yeah, we know what the problems are. I'm like, oh, do you? Do you really? Because I'm going to guess you don't. I'm going to guess you think it's stigma and that the answer is raise awareness because that's what everybody tells me. And I'm going to tell you, you're going to miss the boat. And furthermore, if you don't deeply listen to people, you might misstep so hard that your whole program is discredited. I mean, I've also seen this happen again and again, especially, during the rough years of the COVID era where people are like, everybody just needs to breathe more and do yoga. And they were like, no, it's because I'm trying to do work and my toddler's running around. I am stressed to the max. Like my work situation doesn't work well. And to just to always put it on the troubled worker and not really look at what's actually happening, what workers are actually experiencing, I think can be a huge misstep. So talk about the kinds of things that we might learn when we gauge the pulse and really do some deep listening with the workforce.
Well, and within every workforce is different. Every whether or not it's the healthcare sector or construction or the police force or whatever, there's always little nuances and things to kind of pay attention to. And ultimately, when you're listening to the workforce, you're learning not only the opportunities for improvement, but you're also going to learn what's working well and what would work for people. And that's going to be so important for the success of any program.
Yeah, so building on those strengths, those core values that the workers hold dear, not necessarily the ones that are on the wall. And then, figuring out what some of those gaps are. You could have the best benefit program ever, but people might not use it because of a certain perception that you can recreate. So listening deeply on the front end of developing your sustainable and comprehensive strategy is meaningful. What about tip number two about leveraging the power of lived experience, or some of us like to say lived expertise? What did you mean by that when it comes to building out a strategy of workplace suicide prevention and mental health promotion?
And I love the word lived expertise because I consider myself having lived expertise. It's taking that experience and then, really bringing it to the next level to help others. And that's what I think organizations can do is they can tap into those individuals who are in that stage where they want to be able to take their lived experience and to make an impact. And how to do that is, I think, one thing that a lot of organizations have a problem with is within the how. But I can tell you that you do have workers out there who want to be involved and would share their story and would provide, a great insight into what is working and what would work. And, workers that have some skin in the game and they feel like they're majority shareholders and they're involved in the work, they're going to have that sense of ownership and connection that's really going to make sure that those interventions actually work. What will actually work versus what we think will work.
Yes, and I have found they are the heart of any kind of worker well-being initiative, and they carry that kind of infectious passion with them back out to their teams. They're also really great when it comes to critical thinkers, and this is all kinds of lived experience. It's people who've survived loss of suicide, overdose, addiction, or they've lived with it themselves, or they're in a care support role for someone else. They've all had different pieces of the puzzle that they can bring. And I always say, like, yeah, go do some secret shopper work, with the benefits that you're offered. Tell us what you think, how quickly was the response time? Did they meet you with empathy, or did they hot potato you from person to person? Would you send your kid to this place? That kind of critical analysis of the benefits is just one of many ways that they can contribute. And like you said, really make it sticky and meaningful when they can then tell their peers, like, I helped design this. I'm part of building this up from the grassroots. That level of pride and ownership as people turn that pain into purpose matters so greatly. Anything else that you want to share about how we can leverage this lived expertise?
Yeah, and that's the thing is that, you don't have to invest all this money into expert consultants because you have your expert consultants right there with you. I think it's important to follow appropriate guidelines for actually, involving and engaging individuals with lived experience. There are some amazing guidelines that are out there. A lot of organizations are have fear. They're scared to reach out to people or to even try to recruit people. And obviously, it has to be all done voluntarily, and if people are willing to do so. But I think there are some great guidelines out there. And following those is important to avoid things like re-traumatization or just, kind of addressing all those fears that we may have with asking people and talking to people with lived experience or
Yeah.
expertise.
Yes, I usually like a small but highly committed, nimble group of people with lived expertise to help drive the ship. And it's really great if they come from all different parts of an organization. Um, the client I'm going to meet with tomorrow, they brought 23 people in. I'm like, okay, first of all, yay for the level of response from your workforce. But oh my gosh, how am I going to help wrangle 23 people? That's okay, I'll figure it out. But it's encouraging, right, to see
It
some
is.
of, a lot more people raising their hands like, oh yes, I've walked this path and I want to help. I want to be part of support for other people. I want to be part of a solution. I want to be part of the hope moving forward. And I find hope through action. So let's go.
And that's that
Uh,
culture of psychological safety, I mean, when you feel
yes.
psychologically safe, you're gonna feel that I can share something and it is going to be received and not judged, and it's gonna have an impact.
Yes. So I'm just going to do a quick recap. I'm going to come back to you for final thoughts. So I'm here with Christopher Wojnar, and we're talking about comprehensive and sustainable workplace strategies around suicide prevention, addiction recovery, and mental health. And really, one of the keys to success in building that strategy is to involve the people who've already walked the path on the front end as you're setting up your programs and on the whole way through to see if they're actually doing what they're supposed to be doing. So hot tips here. We'll have a lot more tools for you in the show notes. Christopher, what do you want to make sure people take away? What's your closing thought?
My closing thought is, there's nothing about us without us. And, the power of lived experience is so impactful and it's so important. And don't let fears, stop you, and don't let fears silence the power of lived experience.
Perfect. Love it. Spoken like a true board member of United Suicide Survivors International. Thank you for your service with us. Thank you for your message to our community here. If people want to get in contact with you, what's the best way for them to find you?
On LinkedIn, Christopher Wojnar, and I'm very responsive. Send me a message, send me a connect. I'm very active on LinkedIn.
Yes, and so much more to share there and in all many other topics. So please do reach out and connect. Always looking to develop a broader network of people who are leaning in to make a difference in this space. Thanks again, Christopher. Thank you to Dave for helping us sound amazing, and to all the listeners who leaned in today for this part of the conversation. So in closing, working minds work well together. So let's lean in together and find better solutions so that no one dies in isolation and despair. Until we meet again, take care.